Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. My name is Kevin Crowan. I am a partner with PwC and are one of our intelligent automation upskilling leaders. I'm joined today by Sydney Prescott from Spotify, who leads Spotify's Automation Center of Excellence. So, Sydney, Spotify has a really interesting automation program. I think you guys are doing some interesting things, both in kind of structure and overall goals. Maybe you can just give the audience a brief overview of the program itself.
Absolutely. So we started our program in January, I should say, scaling out an existing small footprint that began in the Treasury Department. We've augmented our staff with PwC resources, and we're really focused on providing automation in two different ways. The first way is through enterprise-led automations, which is really all of our unattended bots. And the second way is through all of our attended bots, which we are achieving by upskilling resources that are currently working within Spotify. And we started that program as a pilot back in Q1 of 2020 with our accounting team. So we're basically taking our accountants and upskilling them to build their own automations alongside the more robust end-to-end automations that our Center of Excellence developers are producing simultaneously.
So that's interesting. So Spotify is undertaking an effort to stand up both a more traditional enterprise top-down channel and a citizen-led channel. How do you think about measuring business value related to that? Because I think for anyone that's been in the automation game for a while, the top-down pieces may be somewhat accepted, but I think kind of doing both is a little bit more challenging.
Absolutely. So there's definitely a wide variety of considerations that we have to start thinking through from a leadership perspective, driving both of these different channels. So we've decided to focus less on how many automations that we're putting into production and more on the business value that we're providing. And the way that we're measuring those business attributes, we're doing everything from measuring the total number of runs, and we're contrasting that with the percentage of successful runs. We're looking at the manual processing time before automation and comparing that to the time that we are saving once that process is automated. And then we're also looking at over time, over the lifespan of the bot, how much time are we giving back to the business? And being able to really provide business value and metrics in a very transparent way. We've built out some pretty incredible data visualizations and dashboards. That's really helping us to prove the value of not only the enterprise-led unattended bots, but also the attended citizen-developed bots.
So maybe we can deep dive a little bit more into the citizen-led channel. So what does the employee engagement model look like with that? I think the citizen-led concept gets people excited, gets people fearful, but most importantly, I think the most frequent question we hear is, how did you get started? How did you get the business engaged?
That is a great question. So again, we started small. We didn't try to bite off more than we could chew. So we really started with one specific area of the business, which is accounting, within our financial engineering organization. And we started with a pilot. We took the first quarter of this year to look at, what does success look like in terms of a citizen developer program? How would we successfully upskill our employees? How do we make sure that our employees feel that they are benefiting from the upskilling that they're receiving through the program? And then also, of course, how do we measure value? How do we measure success? And also, how do we continue to provide a pathway for our citizen developers to continue maturing out their skill set? So it really becomes building an automation first mindset into their development goals, and really being able to showcase how we're helping our Spotifyers to progress their careers as a result of upskilling through UiPath.
And maybe just one follow-up question from that. How difficult has it been to train a non-technologist on how to build automations, and what's worked and what hasn't worked there?
So that's a great question. We have found it surprisingly straightforward. So we began by leveraging the UiPath botathon format, which was great to help us upskill our initial waves of citizen developers. And that was really a program where basically we had UiPath resources that were able to come on site. As we pivoted to virtual, we were still able to host those UiPath botathons virtually. And it was really great because the sessions where there's hands-on training, there's trainers, there's the ability for the citizen developers to deep dive into challenges they're having in terms of picking up the concepts, these new concepts. So I think the training is absolutely essential, making sure that you adopt robust training framework. We began that journey by leveraging the UiPath botathon format, and that's been very successful for us in terms of kind of avoiding the hiccups that we thought we would incur through this kind of upskilling and rollout of the citizen developer model.
For those that are listening that may be at an earlier stage and they're thinking about, how am I going to scale my automation program? What were some of your biggest pieces of advice you'd be giving someone who's thinking about scaling?
One, take it slowly. Make sure that you clearly outline what you plan to deliver, how you plan to deliver it, and create realistic timeframes for those deliverables. I really can't stress that enough. When you start out your program, you want to manage the expectations, particularly in that pilot phase. Make sure that everyone from, if you're starting with citizen developers, that your citizen developers understand that this is going to be a journey, right? That it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. And then to also talk to your senior leaders and make sure that they understand and are bought into the overall vision. I think quite often when we talk about scaling, we may get a little bit ahead of ourselves in the way that we outline what scaling would look like. But you should really try to interpret, try to anticipate what are the challenges that I'm going to run into as I start moving this out of pilot mode and into a true program. And then that becomes an even bigger challenge when you start talking about a global program where you may have many regional departments and leaders that you have to correspond with as you start scaling and continue to get that buy-in. So realize who your stakeholders are, realize what you plan to deliver, manage your expectations from a leadership standpoint and a stakeholder standpoint. And then finally, I would say, make sure that you are really looking at the right business metrics, rather than thinking of the value as how many bots can I get into production, really think about what is the value that I'm providing back to my business stakeholders, and are my business stakeholders able to speak to the value that my COE team is providing through robotic process automation.
Let's look forward to the future a little bit. How are you thinking, I guess, two-part question. One, what's next, right? What's the next frontier that you're trying to tackle as part of the Spotify automation program? And, what's going to be needed to make the organization ready for that next frontier?
Yes, so the next frontier for us is a wide variety of things. So test automation, we're starting to look at the UiPath test suite, document understanding, starting to look at the document understanding piece of UiPath. And that all builds us out to, again, providing business value. So we've started to see the need to expand our intelligent automation toolkit. And so we're looking at ways to add on to the functionality that we can provide back to our stakeholders through the different components of UiPath that we're able to build upon. So the next phase is really additional features, adding additional resourcing to our team, and then also looking forward and trying to anticipate what our business users are looking for, and looking at can we provide those features and new upgrades in additional components of UiPath, and then providing basically a roadmap to be able to execute successfully on that.
Okay, well, Sydney, thank you for the time today. The wisdom and experience you've shared from the Spotify journey, I think, will be really helpful for this audience. Thanks, everyone, for joining.